Well, hello there, Catherine Langman here, back with you on the Productpreneur Success podcast. Welcome to the show if you are a new listener, and of course, welcome back to you long-time listeners. And today on the show, we're going to talk a little bit about what's happening right now in terms of the economic climate that we are now operating and living in. I don't think it's a secret for any of us. I don't think that, we're really experiencing some pretty difficult economic times right now. I don't know whether we are specifically or literally in a technical recession, but inflation in Australia and internationally as well is seeing prices of staples like groceries and fuel, etc., just much higher than they were a year ago. So why have prices gone up so much? And it really is a combination of things like our supply chains being really restricted, the long lockdowns that have been happening in major manufacturing countries like China, delaying deliveries of goods. There's freight, out of those countries are also really restricted. There's too much demand for those freight containers and ships as well, and not enough space. And the cost and availability of fuel as well is just so expensive and so scarce. So that's adding to freight costs, but it's also just adding to our cost of living as well, thanks to that awful war inflicted by Russia. And no doubt there are many other factors contributing as well. But the bottom line is, we just don't have enough goods to fulfill the demand for them. And that is what is driving up prices. And plus, prices have gone up on many things that we do produce here as well, such as food. And that would be contributed by a few things, not least of which would be the cost of fuel having gone up, the lack of delivery drivers due to COVID. And, we've had some pretty awful environmental crises as well that has impacted food growing. So a lot of things going on. And the RBA, the bank, what does the RBA even stand for? Anyway, our central bank, they've just recently increased interest rates in an attempt to try and rein in inflation. And with all of this happening and with all of your business and personal costs increasing, I know that there is an awful lot of fear around how the heck you'll get through. And many of you are fearful of how you'll manage to survive in business in this sort of a climate. And so I want to tell you a little bit about what happened when I started my first business, Cushy Tushies, which was late in 2007, not long before the big recession caused by the global financial crisis, if I can get my words out. And so at the time, my desire to start a business was because I had two little babies. I had them a year apart. And my boss at the time in the ad agency that I worked at basically told me that my job was full-time or nothing, which he was legally allowed to do at that time. I know that the changes around returning to work from maternity leave is a little bit different these days, but full-time hours in Sydney is not 9 to 5. Usually it's more like 8 till 6, which is pretty impossible. And then add travel time on top of that in the crazy traffic. And that's just, it's almost impossible when you have two babies, not to mention, of course, I actually wanted to spend some time with my babies while they were awake and, didn't want them to have long days in really long daycare every single day. So I really wanted to create my own business because I desperately wanted something that was more flexible as well as more meaningful than working in a big ad agency. I remember days where I was working on really boring stuff for banks and really, like I was just thinking, what am I doing here? It was just mind-numbingly boring. Anyway, hopefully my old boss doesn't watch or listen to this. In starting my own business, not only was I going to be losing my secure income, but I was also investing a chunk of savings to help realize my dream. And then the GFC happened and the economy tanked. And was it scary? Absolutely. That's the polite way of putting it. But I was also really determined. So I found a way to take action even whilst I was afraid. And I suppose it was somewhat lucky that the product that our business made was a reusable nappy, which provided significant financial savings for parents compared to disposable nappies or diapers. depending where you're listening to. So that was a really big selling point at the time when families were really needing to tighten their budgets due to the GFC. But funding the business was difficult. Banks stopped lending for quite a while. So I only had two options open to me at the time: invest my savings and use a credit card. And that's what I did. And it didn't stay like that, but that's what got me going. And then, because I had to bootstrap my business myself with a very lean budget to grow, I just had to get scrappy. I had to use all the marketing know-how that I'd learned throughout my career, in my corporate advertising career, and just find a way to forge ahead and grow at a time that many businesses were really, pulling back. So the moral of this story is that a recession can actually be a great time to start or grow your own business. But it wasn't just my story either. Did you know that there are a number of really successful, really well-known businesses started during that recession? And you might recognize some of them: Uber, Airbnb, Slack, Pinterest, WhatsApp, Square. I know that there would be tons of others as well. And some of the most iconic companies of the next decade will undoubtedly come out of the more tough economic times that we're experiencing right now. But experience tells me all of us are likely to have one of three reactions to this economic situation that we're in right now. Number one, you can be a passenger and just kind of passively go along with whatever comes your way. Number two, you could be a victim of your circumstances. Or number three, you can be the driver and really make change happen for yourself. And you might be tempted to think that there isn't much you can do to change your circumstances in the conditions that we're in right now. Someone said to me today that people just aren't buying. And whilst that might feel true in the moment, and whilst there are always going to be times where sales are a little bit like this, the fact is that people are still buying stuff. But you might just need to tweak and change the way that you are going about trying to get them to buy from you, which we'll talk about in a little minute. But even though there are many things that you can't control, like the price of groceries or fuel, for instance, there are many things that you do have control over, starting with how you choose to respond to this situation. So I wanted to create this episode for you to give you some ideas about how you can survive and hopefully thrive as even though the economy may be struggling in the coming months. But before we dive into this episode any further, I'd really love to ask you a quick favor. If you love this episode, would you please share it with one or two of your business besties, especially if you know that they're looking to generate more traffic and sales in their e-commerce website this year, or they're doing it a little bit tough right now. It is really easy to share. All you just need to do is click on the share icon next to the episode on whichever platform that you are listening to it, and copy the share link, and then you can just easily send it in a message to your friends. All right, so let's dive into the episode and talk about some strategies and ideas to manage your business through tougher economic times, whether it's a full recession or just a little bit of a downturn. So here goes. I'm going to go over 8 tips to growing your store in a recession when you really want to thrive and not just survive. And the first is, you do want to be protecting your cash flow, but you don't want to become like Smaug the dragon from Lord of the Rings. I don't know if you've read those books or watched the movies, but Smaug sits on a big pile of, gold and treasure, and he doesn't want to share it with anyone. So cash is the lifeblood of your business, and to keep your small business healthy, cash needs to continue flowing through. No matter how tough times get, having cash flow out of your business will never be a problem. And as long as your business exists, you will have expenses, but the harder times get, the harder it can be to keep the cash flowing in. So to recession-proof your business, you want to implement strategies to keep the cash moving. And I will talk more about how to generate those sales a little bit, more consistently, or as consistently as possible. But one important task to work on is a cash flow forecast, so that you can anticipate when you will have bills coming in or expenses due and what your expected sales revenue will be. And then when you do bring in some cash, don't spend it all at once. Try and slowly build up a little bit of a buffer in your bank account. I'm a big fan of keeping separate bank accounts to set aside money for things like tax and to save for big inventory purchases. And I actually like to have a few separate bank accounts. So putting money aside in one account for inventory, and in another account you might save for tax or your quarterly BAS statements. And even setting up an account to put a little bit of profit aside. So if you have never read the book Profit First, I would highly recommend reading that one. It's a fantastic philosophy for building a business. Anyway, one thing you want to be mindful of when it comes to cash management in your business is that you do need to remember that cash has less spending power when inflation is high. So not a whole lot we can do about that, but I know that there is a knee-jerk reaction for many people to hoard cash when inflation goes up, and when interest rates go up. The knee-jerk reaction is to put it in a bank account thinking, oh, the higher interest rate will be good in a savings account, which is, I suppose, true in a sense, but you've got to remember that the spending power of that is going to be a whole lot less than it will be if you can find ways of investing it in your business. And also don't forget to, interest rates might be going up, but they're still next to nothing on a savings account. So that doesn't mean, of course, that you throw cash at just anything. That would be ridiculous, but you do want to invest in growth generating and money-making strategies, whether that's investing in inventory or investing in marketing that you can clearly track is resulting in profitable revenue. Number 2, optimize, optimize, optimize. This is something that a lot of businesses just don't do enough of. When things are going great guns, like in late 2020, when e-commerce just went completely nuts, thanks to COVID lockdowns forcing consumers to shop online. When it's an easy cash grab situation like that, you can pretty much put up any marketing and it will convert. But most of the time it's not like that. And it's certainly not like that now. You can put together a marketing campaign and send it live, but you're creating that content around what you think will resonate with your audience based, in the moment, based on your past experience or maybe based on gut instinct. But don't just leave it there. You've got to go back and review your results on a regular basis. Like literally look at every step of the marketing funnel and the e-commerce shopping checkout, from click-through rates on your ads to add to cart to purchase to ROI to looking at all of those metrics in your email account, anywhere that you are running any form of marketing. You want to look at which creative variants or copy variants are getting the best results, or look for themes around subject lines or headlines that are getting the best open rates or click-through rates or conversion rates. You want to test things like adding bundles to your website or changing out the hero image or test different incentives. Like there are literally thousands of things that you can test, and then you need to optimize based on the results that you see. The bottom line is don't finish a marketing project and then tick it off your list and never look at it again, or make the mistake of doing something and then assuming it didn't work because you didn't suddenly make a lot of money. You've got to follow the data and let it lead you to the improved results. All right, the third thing is to review your stock control practices. You want to see what can be done to reduce inventory costs wherever possible without sacrificing the quality of goods or, without inconveniencing your customers. Are you ordering too many of particular items or not enough? Can an item be sourced somewhere else at a better price? Is there a drop shipping alternative that will work for you, eliminating shipping and warehousing costs? Just because you've always ordered something from a particular supplier or always done things in a particular way doesn't mean that you have to keep doing them that way, especially when the other ways may save you some money and help you be more profitable. The other way to look at your inventory is to figure out your top sellers, what are your top sellers, and try and get more of those items in, and also look at ways that you can actually sell more all at once, per purchase. So increasing your average order value through things like bundling or, free shipping threshold or, subscription-based methods or whatever there's various things that you can try. But it's super important to focus on doing more of what's working well at times like this, and to find ways, again, of just optimizing the profitability, if you like. All right, number 4, focus on what you do well. Now, I've seen many articles on diversification as a strategy for small business success, and it can be really tempting during a downturn to branch out and try to reach a completely different market, or try and launch new and completely different products, or trying to go from a physical product e-commerce business model to suddenly switching to selling digital downloads or something like that. But too often, small business owners confuse the concept of diversification with different. And unfortunately, if you go too hard down the track of trying to sell new and different products to new and different markets, you can end up losing your core audience along the way. And just adding other products or services to your offerings is also not diversification. Unless you know for sure that the new thing is going to be a hot seller, just don't do it now. Chances are it'll damage your core business by taking your time and money and focus away from what you do best, or even damaging your brand and reputation. So drop the extras and focus on what you do best, that is most profitable, to recession-proof your business. So this means doubling down and selling your main products and categories to your main audience. Maybe you might need to tweak the marketing messaging so that it's a little bit more relevant to your customers' lives right now. Or maybe you need to pull together promotions themed around topics relevant to your customers. But don't just throw the baby out with the bathwater just because things are a little tough right now and assume that nobody wants to buy what you have. You just might need to change the way that you are marketing to and communicating with your audience. Number 5 is to develop and implement strategies to win the competition's customers. If your small business is going to prosper in tough times, you need to continue to expand your customer base. And that means drawing in customers from the competition. So how can you do this? And that is by offering something that is more, something more or something different than what your competition does. So you want to an extent, research your competition and see what they're doing and how they're doing it. But you also want to be doing some research into your own customer base and your own, target audience, so that you can find ways to, offer something different or better, or to entice their customers into becoming your customers. Now, providing better customer service can be one of the easiest ways to outdistance your competition. And this was something that worked really, really well for me in my first business, which, as I said before, was growing throughout that GFC period of time. And in that business, we sold a product that was quite tricky for a lot of people to use, certainly trickier than disposable nappies or diapers. And so we really knuckled down on our customer service, and we made it really easy for customers to get help. And what happened was we started getting customers from other brands contacting us because they needed help to troubleshoot their problems with this kind of product. And they'd heard that we could fix anything and everything. And by being helpful and approachable, we ended up winning those customers over to us. So that was a really fantastic result for us. Number 6, sell more to your current customers. Now, hopefully we've all heard the saying that it's easier to sell more to your existing customers than it is to win new ones. And those repeat sales are not just easier to win, they're also more profitable than a first sale because they don't incur the costs of finding a new customer, such as paying for advertising. And that's something you really need to take advantage of in a downturn. So even if you do need to use tactics like incentives or coupons or free shipping or bundle offers, it's worth keeping those existing customers buying from you rather than giving them the chance to feel like they can get a better deal elsewhere. So when it comes down to it, trying to win those repeat sales from your existing customers, it's worth remembering that there are a few different distinct types of buyer within your audience. And this is generally true for all of us in all our businesses. And the first type of customer is going to be the I want what's new buyer. So they want what's new when it's new. They want to be ahead of the Joneses. They don't want to be trying to keep up with the Joneses. So this is your spontaneous buyer who will generally snap up whatever the latest products are that you get in, just because they always want to have the latest and stay in front of the trends. So, in terms of your marketing to your existing database or your existing audience, you want to be going out with product launch type marketing to appeal and to reach that type of buyer. The second is your big spender, and these are your efficient shoppers. And I confess I'm usually one of these, generally at least with clothing, because I find clothing shopping really boring. And I'm also one of these when it comes to food shopping, but that's not because of anything other than the fact that I have teenage boys who are swimmers and they eat ridiculous amounts of food. Anyway, so that's me. But so like I said, I don't really like shopping for a lot of things. And that means I don't shop very often. But when I do shop, I basically buy everything that I need for several months. And, therefore, I'm the kind of buyer who is going to be influenced by volume incentives or bundles, or even, free shipping thresholds that, will get you up over a higher average order value, if that makes sense. And then you're going to have the discount shopper. This is the one that we all know about, and we'll always have a portion of these in our database. It's definitely okay to share discounts and incentives sometimes. Just don't stick to discounts as your only marketing offer, because then 100% of your database is going to be taken up with that kind of shopper. Now, if you haven't already listened to it, I did do a podcast episode very recently all about using incentives in your marketing. So if you haven't listened to that one, now's a good time to go back and give that one a listen. All right, number 7, don't cut back on your marketing. In tough economic times, many small businesses make the mistake of cutting their marketing budget to the bone or even eliminating it altogether. But lean times are exactly the times that your small business most needs marketing. Consumers are restless. They're looking to make changes in their buying decisions. You need to help them find your products and choose to buy with you rather than with your competitors by getting your name out there. So don't quit marketing. And in fact, if possible, you want to step your marketing efforts up, because you will overtake your competition if you are able to do this. But there are a few things that you want to keep in mind with your marketing right now. And the first is, after more than 2 years into this pandemic, the way consumers shop online and the way they consume digital content has changed a bit. And one thing is for sure, consumers feel overwhelmed and burnt out. So they're looking for ways to escape that reality by watching entertaining content, particularly video content. And they're looking for a little bit of certainty around results. So things like user-generated content that showcases actual consumers using and recommending your products is proving to be more impactful in terms of generating results. So this means to be successful with your marketing right now, or rather to get the biggest return on your effort with your marketing, you need to get a system going to collect and create video content and user-generated content. The second thing with your marketing, use email marketing. Email marketing still has the highest ROI of any digital marketing strategy available, and that is a recent statistic for e-commerce. And when combined with SMS marketing, you will explode those results even more. Of course, you can do both now with Klaviyo. So you definitely, spend some money driving traffic to your website, but don't just rely on your ads alone to convert sales. You want to get those visitors onto your email list. Make sure you are emailing at least weekly with content and offers designed to appeal to those 3 different types of buyer who are likely to be on your list. Third thing with your marketing, work on search engine optimization. That's your SEO. The more you can attract free organic search traffic right now, the better. And not only is it free, aside from, of course, the time it takes for you to do the work, but organic search traffic usually converts at a higher rate compared to many other channels as well. And then the fourth thing is, you do want to keep paying for traffic, but make sure that you are keeping track of your metrics to ensure that you are getting a profitable return. A couple of days ago, I ordered a Facebook ad account for a new client, and I found they were spending hundreds of dollars on campaigns that had not made them a single dollar in 90 days, 3 months. So you really don't want to be doing that if you can avoid it. Number 8, lucky last, keep your personal credit in as good shape as humanly possible. Hard times do make it harder to borrow, and small business loans are often amongst the first to disappear. So as I said earlier, that was my own experience with my first business. But with good personal credit, you will stand a much better chance of being able to borrow the money that you need to keep your business afloat if you need to. So, and there are alternative lenders now for business if you need to tap into things like those. One I can remember off the top of my head is named Moolah. That's an Australian one, of course. But, you know, to recession-proof your business, you want to keep tabs on your personal credit rating as well as your business, and do what's necessary to keep your credit ratings in good shape. That means pay your own bills on time and keep your own personal credit card spending in check. There's absolutely nothing that will make your small business 100% recession-proof, but hopefully implementing the strategies that I've shared in this episode to recession-proof your business and, you know, to help ensure that your store survives and thrives these tough times, and might even be able to grow and profit as well. So that's it for today's episode. I really hope that you feel a little bit calmer about heading into the unknown over the coming months. If you are currently doing it a little bit tough, or you're just looking for ideas or support with your marketing, then please make sure you join our free Rockstar Productpreneur community. To do that, all you need to do is to head to catherinelangman.com/rockstar. Or if you're keen for some help with this stuff, please give us a shout, whether you need help to learn and to implement those things, you know, through training or coaching, or if you would like to outsource to our team, we've got all the options available. So just head over to productpreneurmarketing.com and you can book in with us for a free strategy session.